new letter by January 6th committee chairman Benny Thompson seems to suggest the panel is still examining a potential role of lawmakers in the Capitol attack. For the second time, the committee on Wednesday requested information from Georgia Republican Congressman Barry Loudermilk. The day before the insurrection, Loudermilk led a small tour group through parts of the Capitol complex. He says they were just members of a constituent's family, but Chairman Thompson says this new security footage shows that the group was taking photos and recording areas of the complex that aren't really of interest to tourists, like hallways, staircases, and this is important, security checkpoints.
Well, Zerlina, you and I have both been in the U.S. Capitol, and I've been there a lot of times. I would bet you have been there quite a lot of times, too. Did you or I ever go through the Capitol taking pictures of staircases and security checkpoints? Little bit odd. So what we're looking for here is two things. Number one, as you well know, the foundation stone of any democracy is peaceful transition of power. If a president is voted out, another president comes in, and they do it peacefully. And the other thing is, was this a conspiracy? The committee has made enormous headway. Just in the last 2 days, we've seen evidence that Donald Trump and the people who were around him had a much larger connection to this supposedly spontaneous attack on the Congress and Capitol than anyone admitted before. And now, if this extends to the Congress, if this is a member of Congress who was cooperating with this conspiracy, and we do not know yet, he's issued a statement today denying it. Let's talk to other members of Congress. If that happens, and there's also even evidence that the wife of a Supreme Court justice, Ginny Thomas, was texting and involved in this whole thing. If all that comes to pass, and we haven't got the evidence yet, hearings aren't over, this is a conspiracy among three branches of the federal government to perform a coup d'etat to interrupt the peaceful transition of power and take our democracy away. Thank God the committee is investigating. Stay tuned.
So Thursday last week was the day the January 6th investigation said, hey, Congressman Loudermilk, we'd like to talk to you because you led a tour on January 5th. In response, he released a new statement that, contrary to his earlier denials, he now admits he did lead a tour of the Capitol complex on January 5th. He admitted that in print on Thursday. Then on Friday, he released a video saying that he was only being persecuted for giving that tour that he previously denied. He was only being persecuted for it because the people on the tour were wearing red baseball hats.
On January the 5th, I took a family with young children and their guests who were visiting Washington to lunch in a cafeteria in one of the House office buildings.
That same guy that you saw on Loudermilk's tour, taking photos in the hallways and stairwells, participated in the rally the following day. He made a disturbing video threatening members of Congress.
It has begun here at the Washington Monument, Washington, D.C. Say hello to Facebook.
Hey, what's going on, man? Glad to be here, bro.
This is our fearless leader.
Hey, baby. Check out my flag I made, guys. You see it? There you go, baby. That's for a certain person.
That's right. That's for somebody special. Somebody special. All right. We are basically at the Capitol with probably close to 2 million true American patriots. They are swarming and converging mainly from Constitution Avenue, but from all routes in. There's no escape, Pelosi, Schumer, Nadler. We're coming for you. We're coming in like white on rice for Pelosi, Nadler, Schumer, even you, AOC. We're coming to take you out. We'll pull you out by your hairs. How about that, Pelosi? Might as well make yourself another appointment. I get done with you, you're gonna need a sign up on top of that bald head.
So what was so awful about this family that caused the committee to make false accusations about them? Well, some were actually wearing red baseball caps.
A family with young children and also their guests was the tour that you led on the 5th. And they were wearing red caps, you say. First, he said there were no tours given. I didn't hear it.
Today, the January 6th committee released new security surveillance video that it says shows Georgia Republican Congressman Barry Loudermilk giving a tour to a group of people through office buildings and tunnel entrances in and around the Capitol at a time when it was still closed to the public because of COVID. The hours-long tour was given on January 5th, the day before the insurrection. In a letter to Loudermilk, the committee points out that these so-called guests seemed very interested in photographing some unusual aspects of the Capitol complex, like staircases, hallways, and security checkpoints, not your average hotspots for tourist photo ops.
And anybody who said there was a tour should be reported to the Ethics Committee and investigated. Then the further detail that if there was a tour, which there wasn't, definitely no one was on such a tour wearing a red MAGA baseball cap. I didn't hear it. Now it turns out, yeah, there was at least the tour led by him, the tour he led of all the people wearing the red caps. Congressman Barry Loudermilk got caught out by the investigation on this on Thursday. He copped to it on that video on Friday. Then guess what happened on Saturday? Guess what happened next? You probably guessed this too. Statement from Donald J. Trump, quote, Barry Loudermilk has my complete and total endorsement.
Former White House lawyer recounting his conversation with John Eastman after learning of this effort to overturn the results in Georgia. Take a look.
I said to him, are you out of your effing mind? Right? I said, I only want to hear two words coming out of your mouth from now on. Orderly transition. And I screamed, I said, I don't want to hear any other effing words coming out of your mouth, no matter what, other than orderly transition. Repeat those words to me. And I screamed that. Eventually he said, orderly transition. I said, good, John. Now I'm going to give you the best free legal advice you're ever getting in your life. Get a great effing criminal defense lawyer. You're going to need it.
Now the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th insurrection, they released surveillance video of the tour in question. Now they say they sent a letter to the congressman saying that they find it suspicious that his visitors are seen taking pictures of hallway staircases and security checkpoints. But Capitol Police say they did not find the video suspicious. Now the committee, they also released video of the same man screaming threats towards high-ranking members of Congress on the same day of the riot around the Capitol. Now the January 6th committee, they're making it clear they do, in fact, they want to talk to Representative Loudermilk, but right now he's pushing back, saying the people seen in that video is a family from his home district.
Today, when the January 6th investigation released shocking video of a Republican congressman named Barry Loudermilk leading an hours-long tour of all the House office buildings the day before the Capitol attack. A tour, it turns out, for multiple people who participated in the events of January 6th the next day. Well, that was a vindication of sorts for Democratic Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey. It was Congresswoman Sherrill who raised the alarm more than a year ago, right after the attack, when she said she saw Republican members of Congress leading tours like that for people who then participated in the attack on the Capitol the following day. Congresswoman Sherrill has been rabidly criticized by Republicans, including Congressman Loudermilk, for having raised these allegations. They claimed these allegations were definitely false. We now know what she said was absolutely and specifically true.
Yesterday afternoon, as I was traveling home to Georgia from Washington, my wife and I found out that I was in the crosshairs of the January 6th committee. Why? Because on January the 5th, I took a family with young children and their guests who were visiting Washington to lunch in a cafeteria in one of the House office buildings.
The same man threatening to, quote, take out lawmakers with that eerie confidence about how far his plans might go.
We're coming in like white on rice for Pelosi, Nadler, Schumer, even you, AOC. We're coming to take you out.
appears to be inside the Capitol doing what looks like reconnaissance, scoping out paths, using the cameras you see there, taking what appears to be photos of a very boring staircase. At another point, he is caught, if you look on the left of your screen there, taking photos of what looks like, at the time, an empty hallway. It's not exactly a tourist attraction. And here's how the committee puts it at this juncture after all of their investigation. They formally note that the individuals there recorded areas not typically of interest to tourists, hallways, staircases, and security checkpoints. The details matter. Murder is a crime. When it is pursued, but it fails, attempted murder, also a crime. Same for a failed sedition plot, same for a sedition conspiracy. That's already been charged whether or not you pull off the sedition. As for targeting lawmakers, new evidence shows photos were taken of the office of one of Trump's most persistent targets that you see here. This is also now evidence. Judiciary Chair and one-time impeachment leader, Congressman Jerry Nadler. That's his office sign, which appears to be, the inference is, an effort to locate him, as well as other individuals who serve the United States government, who have government jobs, who take an oath to uphold the Constitution. This photo taken there of the majority Democratic staff. The footage appears to also show Congressman Loudermilk leading them, pointing, showing something to the man you see there in a red hat near that corner. Another 5 people also seen coming down an escalator. Now today the congressman is denying that there was anything nefarious to this. He claims the committee did not even get in touch with him.
They've never sent me a letter asking me, never called me.
To get his perspective about what really happened. But that also undercuts his credibility because there is a public written letter that was sent to him. This new evidence raises other grave concerns amidst 2 open federal probes into the insurrection. And as a final point, remember, on January 5th, the day before what would be the national security event of everyone, including the vice president, coming to do the routine certification, on that day, the 5th, the whole Capitol was officially and formally closed to tourists.
They've never sent me a letter asking me, never called me.
This is a pretty weak story, Ari. I mean, this evidence is absolutely damning. First of all, Representative Loudermilk denied ever having given the tour when this first came up. I didn't hear it. That's just for starters. But he actually had this family, so-called family, on that tour for, I don't know, several hours. And the only places that they went to were the office buildings and the tunnels that connect the main Capitol. If you go on a tour of the Capitol, you go on a tour of the Capitol, you go inside, you go to the rotunda, you go into the House, you go into the Senate. But this was not a normal tour. You would get bored out of your gourd if you were doing nothing but looking at tunnels and passageways.
Yeah, I want to jump in, Nick. I want to jump in to reinforce your point because it's like sometimes we're talking about stuff that's so obvious, the debunking of it almost sounds unnecessary or dumb, but it's necessary, I think, because of the nature of the dumb defense he gave. And so I just want to underscore what you're saying. Yeah, this was not a tour route. The reason that those are kind of anodyne, boring hallways is there's a vast underground walking system that helps members get back and forth from their offices, which are not generally inside the Capitol, from Hart and other office buildings, and get over quickly to vote and back. And that's just part of working on the Hill. And so when you take people on the tours, you tend to take them to some of the footage people have seen elsewhere, the paintings, the rotunda, the middle, the voting, views of the Senate floor. That's all the beautiful historic stuff, and some of it might look like the Hamilton set. And here, they're in the most boring, random basement hallway, which, again, might not even be called a tour, really at all.
No, by no means. And then you don't take, what's he taking pictures of? He's taking pictures of security points, he's taking pictures of tunnels, he's taking pictures of stairways. And then you've got Representative Loudermilk actually pointing out certain things. What was he pointing out? I mean, all of this is extremely suspicious. One, in light of his original denial, having said that he gave no such tour. And secondly, the fact that one of those people is actually on tape, as you pointed out in the beginning of this segment, actually saying that he was going after Pelosi, going after Schumer, etc. So when you put all of the evidence together, This is extremely suspicious. And on top of it all, it's consistent with what was going on, with the idea that the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were basically planning a military operation. They went into that Capitol from two different ends, lined up as you would if you were conducting a military operation. And a key part of any military operation is to do a surveillance beforehand. So the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together. We obviously don't have all the glue that ties it together yet, but I think the committee is onto something really important here.